The next 6 months are going to be one hell of a ride because we have the Mars opposite Pluto astrological event happening in the sky. Mars, archetypally known as the god of war, opposing Pluto, known as the god of hell, the lord of the underworld. Intensity is the uncontested key word here. And as always, within this realm of duality, everything has a positive evolutionary intention and also a negative or a lower octave expression or a set of stumbling blocks that we can trip over. This energy will hit 3 peaks. It's active now during this Aries full moon, but the first maximum spike is November 3rd, just a couple days before the elections in the US. And of course, that peak will still be going on during the elections. The second peak is January 7th, which is close to the inauguration, as well as one day after this now infamous day of January 6th. And then it'll hit its third spike in April. So it's going to be a wild ride, as I said, and we're going to go ahead and look at the evolutionary potentials here today. My name is Bryan Colter. I'm an evolutionary astrologer, and here's my take on the Mars-Pluto opposition. Before we dive in, just a bit of housekeeping. If you find this information useful in any way, please like, subscribe, leave a comment below, share it with your friends. You know the drill. It really helps me with the algorithm and gets my message out to more people. Also, if you want a personal birth chart reading with me, you can see my services. I also have classes on my website, bryancolter.com. I'll put a link below. Okay, let's go ahead and dive in. As you can see here, we got this Mars-Pluto opposition. Mars is in Cancer, opposing Pluto in Capricorn. Mars and Pluto are also squaring the Chiron and the Moon. And Moon is actually in Mars's sign of Aries. Aries is known as the warrior, the pioneer, the daredevil. As I said before, Mars is the war god. So it's like we got 2 votes for warrior energy. These are symbols of action and intensity, bravery and courage, but as well as fear and anger. These are all qualities associated with Mars. Now, whenever a planet touches a planet, regardless of the aspect, in this case Mars-Pluto, Mars is trying to work with and integrate the energy of Pluto, and then on the flip side, Pluto is trying to work with and integrate the energy of Mars. And always with these events and with these archetypes, there's many layers of understanding to them. So let's just start off with the basics. Whenever Mars hits a planet, it is the most impactful, triggering planet in all of astrology. So Mars right now is triggering Pluto. Okay, Pluto, I referenced it as the lord of the underworld or the god of hell. On one level, Pluto represents the collective pain body, also personal pain body. It represents all our hurts, all our traumas, all that which exists underneath the surface of things, subconsciously, unconsciously, suppressed and repressed emotions. So the triggering planet of Mars, through this tension-based aspect, stimulates and brings that which is hidden or in the underworld up into the light in all its horror and all its glory. And actually, horror and glory is a good way of framing it, because Pluto is the planet of extremes. Whenever Pluto touches a sign or a planet, it brings out the extreme light side manifestation and also the extreme dark. And since it's the planet of transformation, the evolutionary intention is to transform that which is dark or heinous into love and light. And Pluto is impacting Mars, so those Plutonian wounds are martial in their flavor. And Mars, on the dark side of things, the extreme dark, is the planet of rage, the planet of destruction. And rage, of course, can lead to destruction. It's also the planet of fear. And fear leads to fight, flight, or freeze. As I said, this is very primal energy. It activates our baser instincts. The amygdala, this part of the limbic system. So far, this is very dramatic. And again, with Pluto, it brings out the good, the bad, and the ugly. So far, we're pointing more towards the bad or the ugly side of this, okay? But what about the good? Well, it brings out the extreme good of Mars, the extreme good of the warrior. And we'll see a lot of this amongst the collective, where we see incredible acts of bravery and strength in the face of very nightmarish experiences. It has a feeling of triage, emergency, where we have to be brave and courageous in the face of destruction or in the face of very trying circumstances. It represents bravery against survival, hence primal. Makes me think of disaster recovery. This is very prevalent now with the hurricane that hit the east coast of the U.S. And you have those people, coming in on helicopters to save those who are still alive that need rescue away from the floods and whatnot. This is Pluto and Mars imagery. And allow that to function as a metaphor for the types of heroism that we will see above random chance across the globe over the next 6 months. Another example you could use is somebody, running into a burning building to save children. This is Mars-Pluto 2 on the extreme high end. Okay, let's go back to Mars triggering Pluto, but we're going to take it down a layer deeper here. Different angle, equally as important. Okay, Mars triggering Pluto, the darker or darkest aspects of reality and human potential. It's very common for astrologers to see when Mars interacts with Pluto, this having a profound effect on the wars, the ones that are already existing on the planet. Sometimes we see new wars start, war energy. And since Mars is in Cancer, this is typically related to Cancer being the sign of family, hearth, clan, kinship. So clannish energy, it's associated with patriotism. It's associated with, political protection. So there's that clan energy. Warlike behavior associated with the darker side of political beliefs that have turned religious. So we don't have to look too hard in different pockets of the world to see that going on. Look to see that increase become more intense over the next 6 months, especially in November, January. We'll hit a little break in February and March, and then get really intense in April again. And I realize this can sound scary. My intention here is not to scare you, but it is important to see what's coming so that we can leverage our own martial strength and bravery in the face of this adversity. Because there's so much growth and evolution that wants to occur amongst the collective during this time, and we can do our own small part in the face of that intensity to help others and to help ourselves. So again, these are references to the good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay, we circled back to more bad and ugly. Let's circle back to good. We want to honor these things equally. Here's a very positive aspect. Mars opposite Pluto. This is about movements created in different pockets of the world that want to overthrow corrupt systems and regenerate society in a healthier, more evolved way. And this is especially true with Pluto being in Capricorn, which highlights the dark side of ambition and control and represents the power brokers of the world. And the power brokers of the world who have gone a bit insane becomes more obvious during this time. The collective comes together with these movements, leveraged by their own bravery, courage, and strength to have this regenerative effect for planet Earth so we can bump on a more positive timeline as we enter into this Aquarian age. And this is influenced by Mars being in Cancer. I said before, Cancer is the sign of family and clan, but it's also linked to the mother archetype, the mother that nurtures all life. So there's a healing quality associated with Cancer. Meanwhile, the war god has a protective quality, and that's what the warrior has in common with mothers, to protect the weak and defenseless. So to protect the weak and defenseless from the darker realities of the world, which is represented as Pluto, the dark underbelly of the world, one of the darkest things I can imagine, for example, is child trafficking. That's pure evil. So this event, in part, is about discovering the foot that has gone a bit gangrene, and then to amputate that foot as a form of intense healing, okay? And that's ultimately what Pluto's about, is healing our woundedness. And by removing the gangrene foot, we pivot from our eventual demise. Sorry for the dark imagery, but it's useful as a metaphor. It's an intense metaphor, but welcome to Pluto Mars. Now let's look at it from a different angle, just as important, but slightly different. Mars, the triggering planet, impacting Pluto, the lord of the underworld, that which exists in the underworld coming to light. Pluto is the planet of secrets. Mars triggering the planet of secrets. Okay, darkness coming to light, fomenting anger and that more rage side of martial energy, which can be, again, destructive, which we want to not manifest in our own lives, but allow that as an igniting force to exercise willpower, bravery, and courage so that we can manifest this protector energy as we see these secrets become more visible. This is why I'm labeling this video October Surprise, which is kind of a cliche for, October during political season, at least in America. But it fits quite beautifully where the triggering planet is hitting the planet of secrets. So look out for those October surprises. As I've stated in previous videos, this Pluto in Capricorn is finishing up for the last time. It's about to re-enter into Aquarius, and then it will be in Aquarius for the next 20 years. And as this is happening, we have this major triggering event. And the invitation here is to just kind of take out the garbage within the collective, take out that which stinks, because it will not serve us over the next 20 years as Pluto in Aquarius really cements us into this Aquarian age, which is much more tilted towards freedom, independence, and decentralization. So it's almost like a boil, sorry, again, intense imagery, that is ready to be lanced, okay, so we can heal. Pluto, yes, it is the god of hell, but it's ultimately about the regeneration and transformation, transforming that garbage into fertilizer, kind of like the compost bin in the back of the yard. Now, what about on a personal level? I mean, I've been talking very much about, how this impacts humanity, but we also want to work with this in our own personal lives as well. And this event will impact those the most who have major planets like their sun, their moon, their ascendant, or a stellium of planets around these degrees, later degrees of Capricorn and Cancer. Therefore, this Pluto-Mars event will be impacting their own personal chart. And the evolutionary intention is more or less the same. Of course, we want to tie it into your own chart, which, I can't do here, obviously, because this is a more generalized reading. But the principle is the same. If this event is activating your own life in your own chart, you want to ask yourself the evolutionary question, is there some woundedness inside of me that I'm ready to let go? And if it's triggering your planet, often this event will create somewhat uncomfortable circumstances in your present life that will trigger you, in a sense, to remind you of the stuff that you still have to work on and the garbage you got to take out. And one of the most powerful ways of doing that, in my opinion, is meditation. And I did create a meditation for this on my new channel, Meditation Nexus, where you can really focus and visualize on cultivating that inner warrior strength in the face of intense situations. And that meditation will help you really over the next 6 months if you practice it enough. So I'll put a link below if you're interested. So as promised, this is a very primal and intense energy. And I'm not trying to scare anybody. In fact, fear is not your greatest ally right now, nor is passivity. We want to confront with love and light, with the mothering protective energy, okay, confront that which needs to transform. And it's an evolutionary intention that's certainly not for the faint-hearted, fair enough. But these are things that need to transform before we enter in again to this big Aquarian energy over the next 2 decades. This is the core evolutionary intentions, with the goal being to expand our consciousness.